So we're back again, and you remember last time I asked you to, sort of put your numbers against SPANCOP, the sales funnel, and I wondered, did you find that quite interesting, just to break down your sales process? And I just wondered, did you have any sort of personal reflections, or did it bring you any insights about where you are strong, or where you probably need to put some attention? And we'll go a little bit into that now in this video, because I think just to remind us of where we are, the 7 steps in SPANCOP. We have the suspect, prospect, analyze and approach, negotiate, close, order and payment. In this video I kind of am going to focus a little bit more on where the selling is really taking place, and that's the prospect, analyze and approach, negotiate and close phase, and hopefully show you the importance of knowing your numbers around this to help you focus on 2 things. One, sort of where you need as a business to pay attention, so where you might need to prioritize activities and change your focus. And then the other one about your self-development, right? So where potentially you have areas that you're stronger and areas that you need to just develop that a little bit further to make the most of every opportunity that you find. So if we was just to take a couple of random examples, right? So we'll start at the same point that we have in these 2 examples. Our suspects, our universe is 1,000 people. I'm sure it's many more than that, but actually you've built a prospect, you've built an active prospect list of 400 in example A and 100 in example B. Now what that sort of now all of a sudden gives us a finite number of real prospects that we're going after and that we have in our sales funnel. You've carried on your mapping out activity, and what you've carried forward into your analyze and approach phase. You've carried over 350, and you've carried over all 100 here, right? So that's where we are with our numbers. And then as you've moved down into your sales pipeline, we're already dropping down to 100 in the negotiate phase here, and we're still at 100 in B. And this one's going to be a little bit sort of obvious in terms of where it is. Now what do we have status in the close phase? We have 50, and we have 0. You probably guess what's going to come out of that example. But anyhow, let's work through what this really tells us. This is starting to tell us that as a business, as business A, we're pretty good at creating the need, right, for our products. So that probably means we're quite strong at marketing. That probably means we're quite good on social media. That probably means we're quite good at being a leading voice in the industry, that we're known, and therefore we have a really high percentage of conversion between suspect to prospect. The contrary is said in B, right? So what we probably are is a little bit random. We might not be focusing our efforts on marketing. We might not be focusing our efforts on getting our brand out there and our sort of voice as a leader. So this is the first place that you can make a difference in your pipeline. You can increase your rate of suspects to prospects by focusing more on those softer elements, those hard marketing pieces that I've just described. But now as you start to come into your sales pipeline, you're working, as I've said already, with real opportunities, right? So these are prospects that actually have shown that they want your product or your service, they have a budget, and they're authorized to spend it. So these are really now the ones that you're going to drive as opportunities for your business. What we're showing here in both cases really, that we're pretty good at bringing through those prospects to really into that sort of determining the needs and establishing that there's that genuine interest. So we've gone through a lot of probably qualification. Maybe if it's it won't be direct, it might be direct. If you've got 350, you'd be very busy. But you've gone through a lot of qualification. All right, you've gone through all of the qualification here, and you've got some really strong prospects. And this is a phase where if this was to drop down, let's just say for this example, to 50. And I'm not trying to make B seem to be the bad one here, but it means that actually you're questioning, you're probing, you're matching your value, your products, your services to the customer needs is not as good, right? So think about in this in this phase, you know, are your questions prepared? Are you going into that meeting with real clarity about what it is you're going to ask, so you can establish the needs? And you probably find that if you're strong at moving from P to A, it means you're really good at questioning, you're really good at establishing and uncovering that need. If you're poor, let's say we go back to 50, if you're poor, that means that you're probably rushing, you're probably not asking enough questions, and you're probably just rushing to the close. So be careful of that, all right? Then as we start to go out of the analyze phase, you see in option A, again, you know, we lose a lot, right? We lose 250. Now, what does this tell you? It tells you the difference between A and B, where B carries the 100 over, that I'm not so good at moving from A to N. And it might be that what I'm really not good at now is I'm not good at that kind of negotiation phase, where what I'm doing is I'm agreeing that there's a commitment to purchase. Now, this quite often falls into a mindset piece, right? That people are a bit apprehensive to start channeling down the questions to say, if I do this, you'll do that, because that's sometimes a bit tough. That's about resources, that's about timelines, that's about budgets, that's about, you know, the real nitty-gritty of value delivery. You know, sometimes it's about putting your money where your mouth is, right? So I think this is where we start to see in example A that this individual, this business, starts to think, oh my gosh, I'm not so good at negotiation, and they lose so much out of their pipeline that you know, that's something that I would identify if I was in your business looking at your pipeline and this was you. I've got to do something about my techniques, my skills, my capabilities, my mindsets for negotiation. Then as we drop down into the C phase, you know, we carry 50% over here, so to 100 to 50, so we're getting 1 in 2. And in B, poor B, you know, gets 0. So what it tells us in both cases is, well, in B, I'm awful at closing a deal. And sometimes that is about asking for the order is the toughest thing to do in sales. But actually, if you know your numbers, i.e. you know you're 100 to 50, let's say, you know that you get every other one. That's not a bad ratio, but you can focus your efforts in what do I need to do to increase my close rate. So hopefully what this shows you is by putting your numbers in, regardless of your A, B, C, D, that if you start to understand I call them the maths of selling, and the numbers that you have in each phase, you can start to address your offer, your approach, and your mindset to each phase to make the most of everything you qualify as a valid prospect. And as you bring them down the sales funnel, you'll move much more speedily and effectively into close. So the action that I have for you now on this learning is identify, having put your numbers in, where you are as an individual strongest, where you need some guidance, and think about how, using the content in the Sales Mindset Coach website and Facebook group, you might be able to address some of those gaps. So I hope that was useful to you. Catch you soon.